looking to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Angeles, welcome to ASEAN in Focus. Joining me now is our EBC Bureau in Bangkok. Hello, Faye.
Hello, I'm Faye Barta from your EBC Bangkok Thailand, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines.
The IMF in June projected a severe global GDP contraction in 2020.
Copy.
The picture today is less dire.
The Philippine Red Cross PRC on Tuesday said it is working to make COVID-19 testing in the country affordable and inexpensive for Filipinos. IMF Chief Kristalina Georgieva says the global economic downturn caused by the coronavirus pandemic will be less severe than originally feared.
Global GDP contraction in 2020.
Thousands of Indonesian workers protested against a controversial new law which critics fear will favor investors at the expense of labor rights and the environment.
Flexible e-learning buses launches in Laguna. A total of 32 new coronavirus total of 32 new coronavirus disease 2019 or the COVID-19 infections among police personnel were reported Tuesday night, bringing to 969 the total number of active cases in the police force. In a statement, the Police National Police or the PNP Health Service also reported 121 new recoveries for a total of 5,240. Of the 32 new infections, 13 were from the National Capital Region Police Office, 6 from Police Regional Office, 5 from Bicol, 5 from Pro 3 Central Luzon, 4 from Pro 4A Calabarzon, 2 from National Operational Support Units, and 1 each from Pro 10 Northern Mindanao and Pro Cordillera. Meanwhile, another police officer succumbed to the disease, bringing the death toll in the PNP to 18. The 54-year-old policeman from the Regional Maritime Unit 10 died on October 5. The total number of COVID-19 infections among police officers has reached 6,227. Official data shows that more than 31 million workers were negatively affected by pandemic in Vietnam. Joining us live, Chriselle Lacuna from our EVC Vietnam Bureau. Hello, Chriselle. How are you?
Hi, Faye. I'm good. Thank you for asking. So that is right. Up to 31.8 million workers lost their jobs in the first 9 months of 2020. Caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, and others were forced to alternative leave and pay cuts. The General Statistic Office released the said figures during a press conference held in Hanoi about labor and employment situation in quarter 3. 68.9% of workers were affected from service sector, and the most severely hit sector and followed by the industrial and construction sector with 66.4%. Yet labor and employment situation and the laborers' income improved compared to the previous quarter that signifies positive signal. Meanwhile, the working age labor force is 1.8 million more than the second quarter figure, totaling 48.6 million, and the year-on-year decline of 638,900. Between January and September, 2.48% of the total working age laborers are unemployed. That's approximately 1.2 million. Laborers' earnings improved in the third quarter. Workers continue to be adversely affected by the COVID-19, according to the Labor and Employment Survey results of the third quarter of 2020. Workers continued. GSO recommended to continue the implementation of aid packages in accordance with the government's resolution to ensure that they support the right subjects in a timely and effective manner. GSO also mentioned that priority should be given to assisting groups of workers, especially workers in business establishments. The agency stated that the implementation of support policies for enterprises and production establishments need to be accelerated to help recover economic activities of all industries, especially those heavily hit by the pandemic. And also, Vietnam's COVID-19 tally on Wednesday morning reached 1,098 with 37 in treatment and 1,023 recoveries and 35 deaths, according to the Ministry of Health. Back to you, Faye.
All right, Rochelle. So the government there in Vietnam is doing support package for the workers who are affected of the pandemic, correct?
That is right, Faye.
Thank you very much for your report. Keep safe there and keep the updates coming.
Thank you so much, Faye. Reporting live from Ho Chi Minh City, I am Chriselle Yacuna. We live in interesting times.
Now let's go over to Bangkok, Thailand. Joining us live from Thailand Bureau is Christelle Mapa. Hello, Christelle. How are you?
Hello, Faye. Good afternoon to you. And here's our latest update here in Bangkok, Thailand. His Excellency Mr. Don Pramudwinai, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Thailand, highlighted its role in promoting the participation of women and gender equality locally and internationally under the vision of unlocking women's potential during the high-level meeting on the 25th anniversary of the 4th World Conference on Women. In pre-recorded video, the Deputy Prime Minister delivered statements that in the high-level meeting that was held during the 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The statement, which was released by Ministry of Foreign Affairs, mentioned that Thailand has always viewed gender equality and women's empowerment through the lens of promoting possibilities and unblocking potentials. Mr. Don further mentioned that this is meant by ensuring equal access to opportunities through the establishment of Women's Development Fund intended to increase women entrepreneurs' access to finance. As a result, Thailand has 44% CEOs and managing directors that are women. Thailand also enacted the Gender Equality Act and other protective laws and measures to ensure defense against all forms of gender-based discrimination. He ended his message by encouraging everyone to be united in enabling women to realize their true power. He also added that to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals for the society is within reach once the potential of the whole society is unlocked to contribute. Back to you, Faith.
All right, thank you very much, Christelle Mapa, reporting from our EBC Thailand Bureau. A female student repatriated from the UK became the latest COVID-19 victim in Vietnam, according to the National Steering Committee for COVID-19 Prevention and Control. Now, the student, aged 26, landed at Van Don International Airport in the northern province of Quang Nam last October 2, and now quarantined in the nearby Hai Dong province. On October 4, she developed symptoms of COVID-19, which are cough, fever, and sore throat. And the following day, she tested positive for the coronavirus. The patient is being treated at the National Hospital for Tropical Diseases in Hanoi's Dong An district. Now, Vietnam currently has 1,098 confirmed cases and 35 recorded deaths.
Philippine Embassy in Yangon commemorated the 64th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the Republic of the Philippines and the Republic of the Union of Myanmar at 7 p.m. on 29 September 2020 through a virtual celebration aired on Facebook. The program began with the playing of the Myanmar national anthem and Filipino anthem. There was an opening remarks of the Philippine ambassador to Myanmar, Eduardo E. Kapunan Jr. The special messages were given by the Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro L. Locsin Jr. and Myanmar Union Minister for International Cooperation, Yu Kwai-tin. The virtual celebration also included the conferment of the Order of Sikatuna to former Myanmar ambassador to the Philippines, Wu Wing-yang. The program included the showing of all the submissions of contestants, Myanmar nationals and Filipino nationals staying in Myanmar, to the Central Rizal Yangon quarantine competition and culminated with the announcement of the winners.
ASEAN in Focus will be right back. Welcome back. IMF Chief Kristalina Georgieva said the global economic downturn caused by the coronavirus pandemic will be less severe than originally feared. Now, she credits the improvement to extraordinary policy measures that put a floor under the world economy, which amounted to $12 trillion in fiscal support to households and firms. Take a look.
The IMF in June projected a severe global GDP contraction in 2020. The picture today is less dire. We now estimate that the second quarter downturn was somewhat less severe than expected, allowing for a small upward revision in our global forecast for 2020. And we will continue to project for 2021 a painful and uneven recovery. Risks remain high, including from rising bankruptcies and sketched valuations in financial markets. And many countries have become more vulnerable. Their debt levels have increased because of their fiscal response to the crisis and the heavy output and revenue losses. we estimate that global public debt will reach a record high of about 100% of GDP in 2020. Where the pandemic persists, it is critical to maintain lifelines across the economy to firms and to workers, such as tax deferrals, credit guarantees, cash transfers, wage subsidies. Equally important is continued monetary accommodation and liquidity measures to ensure the flow of credit, especially to small and medium-sized firms, supporting jobs and supporting financial stability. Cut the lifelines too soon, and the long ascent becomes a precipitous fall.
Global trade, devastated by the coronavirus crisis, will shrink by less than expected this year, but the rebound will also be much weaker than previously forecast. The WTO says images and soundbites of WTO press conference.
WTO is now projecting a 9.2% fall in the volume of world merchandise trade in 2020, followed by a 7.2% rise in 2021, leaving trade well below its pre-pandemic trend.
Global merchandise trade decline recorded in the second quarter of 14.3% is the largest quarter-on-quarter drop recorded in our time series going back to 2005. So this was a very sharp decline in trade.
We think there's reason for optimism on the trade front with a smaller than expected decline. Fall and winter holds a lot of uncertainty. Asian exports have been strong, but for those exports to be sustained, you need strong demand in the importing countries such as the US and EU. But we don't know how strong consumption demand will remain should the virus resurge and should governments not be able to continue sustained fiscal support.
The WTO said that rapid deployment of an effective vaccine against the virus could boost confidence and raise output growth by 1 to 2 percentage points in 2021.
The United States has banned imports from a Malaysian palm oil giant that supplies household titans like Procter & Gamble and Nestle over concerns its workers face physical and sexual violence and other abuses. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, announced the ban on palm oil imports from FGV Holdings, one of Malaysia's top producers, on Wednesday following a year-long probe that also found indications the firm was withholding wages and using child labor. Activists claim the industry drives the destruction of rainforests to make way for plantations and that its low-paid foreign workers frequently face abuse. CBP official Brenda Smith said, quote, "These companies are creating unfair competition for legitimately sourced goods and exposing the public to products that fail to meet ethical standards," unquote. The American decision, which came into force Wednesday, means that all palm oil and palm oil products made by FGV and related companies are barred from U.S. ports of entry. Palm oil is a common ingredient in items ranging from processed foods to cosmetics, with Malaysia and neighboring Indonesia introducing 85% of the world's supply.
The relationship between the Philippine Navy and the We would like to assure you that in spite of us not seeing each other face-to-face or physically, the PIN and RBN have all the friendship, trust, and confidence goes on, and the relationship is very strong. PN Chief Vice Admiral Giovanni Carlo Bacordo said during his virtual meeting with RBN's First Admiral Dato Seri Palawan Haji Otam bin Haji Suhaili on Tuesday. Bacordo assured his counterpart of support for its future endeavors and continued friendship, a pledge the Brunei naval officer reciprocated. Tackled in the same meeting were the role of the two navies in helping their governments mitigate the effects of COVID-19 and recent naval engagements, such as the just concluded Rim of the Pacific exercises in Hawaii. Also discussed was the group sale conducted by BRP Jose Rizal with Brunei's KDB Darussalam and U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer USS Chung Hoon from Hawaii to Guam. PN Public Affairs Office Chief Lieutenant Commander Maria Cristina Rojas said other engagement discussed were the ASEAN Navy Chiefs meeting in November and the maritime training activity that was postponed this year, but it is intended to push through by 2021.
Meanwhile, thousands of Indonesian workers protested against a controversial new law, which critics fear will favor investors at the expense of labor rights and the environment. Labor activists and environmentalists have formed an unlikely alliance against the legislation, which was passed in Parliament late Monday after being promoted by the government as key to attracting investment. Now, human rights group Amnesty International called it catastrophic for workers, saying it would harm livelihoods and job security. Felim Kain, an official with the Mighty Earth Environmental Group, said it would legitimize uncontrolled deforestation. The government hopes the bill, which aims to cut red tape by amending dozens of existing laws covering taxation, labor and environment regulations, will attract foreign investment. Although enforcement is sometimes patchy, Indonesia has tough labor laws, particularly involving foreign companies. Indonesia is facing a looming recession, with the economy shrinking 5.32% in the second quarter this year due to the coronavirus. More than 11,000 people have died so far, with at least 300,000 infected.
A jury panel was chosen on Monday in the trial of 4 men in connection with the deaths of 39 Vietnamese migrants whose bodies were found in a lorry in southeast England. The grim discovery of 31 men and 8 women inside the container truck on an industrial estate east of London last year threw fresh light on the plight of migrants desperate to reach Britain. A post-mortem examination found the victims, 10 of them teenagers, including 2 15-year-old boys, died from lack of oxygen and overheating in the refrigerated lorry. Harrison, 23, of Mayobridge in Northern Ireland, is accused of having driven the lorry trailer to the Belgian port of Zeebrugge before it sailed to the excess port of Prelit. He faces 39 counts of manslaughter and 1 count of conspiracy to assist unlawful immigration along the George Nika, 43, of Basildon in Essex. Valentin Kalota, 37, of Birmingham, Central England, and Christopher Kennedy, 24, of Country Armbag, Northern Ireland, are charged with being part of the people smuggling conspiracy. All 4 have pleaded not guilty. The jury pool of 22 at the Old Valley Court was selected and sent away until Wednesday, when prosecutors are expected to open the case, which may last for 5 weeks.
Singapore's Prime Minister testified in court at the start of his defamation suit against a blogger who shared an article on Facebook linking the leader to a corruption scandal. Take a look. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong accuses Leong Zi-Hian of spreading false claims about him over the article relating to the money laundering scandal at State Fund 1MDB in neighboring Malaysia. Taking the stand at the start of the trial, Lee accused Leong of making malicious and baseless allegations which had undermined the government's integrity and honesty. The article that Leong shared, originally published in a Malaysian news portal, alleged that Lee was the target of an investigation in Malaysia over the 1MDB state fund. Billions of dollars were looted from the investment vehicle in a scandal that involved Malaysia's former leader Najib Razak and his inner circle. Lee, 68, also said he suffered damage to his own reputation. Leong's lawyer, Lim Tien, argued the libel suit was unnecessary as authorities had denied the allegations, adding that the Prime Minister had picked on the defendant when there are many others who shared the defamatory article. The case will run until the end of the week. Singapore's leaders are sensitive to allegations of graft, but rights groups frequently accuse them of resorting to tough laws to silence criticism. Last year, authorities introduced a law against online misinformation, which empowers ministers to order the blocking of social media posts they deem false, sparking criticism that it would chill free speech. All right, Faye and I will be back here in ASEAN in Focus. Thank you, Faye. We'll be back.
Ano? Kasi nagbe-blush ako sa'yo. Oh, bola yun
Oh, yung buhok mo, parang naaamoy ko yung buhok mo.
Magagalit lahat, Barangay Agila.
Paano? Bakit gano'n? Nananakot ka na, maganda ka pa rin.
Ay, nako!
Kumanda, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya.
Hey everyone! I'm Nikki Fakal Arsena. Abangan niyo po ako and the rest of the Barkada and your favorite OPM artists on Letters and Music. Prime time na! Mula Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. only on Net 25. See you!
Bye-bye! Gustong-gusto ko yung fake news. Bakit di nila makukuha yung tamang sagot?
Bawal ang fake news. Bawal mali-mali.
Tonto ako sa fake news, hindi nila makuha yung tamang sagot.
Team Papawi!
Hip-hop queen!
Ang gusto ko yung PN's the key.
Kasi nakaka-relate din ako dyan. Yung misis ko madalas umorder eh.
Ang red ba? Ang confirmed or cancel?
Gusto rin namin magbigay ng pag-asa sa ating kapwa, lalo na sa panahon ngayon. Ang gusto ko dyan, ayudawan, nakatulong na, nakakatawa pa. Driver Grab, nag-deliver, driver Grab.
Ang gusto ko po dyan yung ayudawan kasi marami pong natutulungan ng tao.
Salamat po. Opo, maraming salamat po. Unang-una po sa ama.
Opo, maraming salamat po. Ikwento ko po ito sa aking mga anak.
Gusto ko sa happy time, maalis tayo. Tonto ako kay KitKat.
Iyan o. Iyan o.
What's up? This is Joshua Zamora of The Maneuvers. At kung excited na kayo na maka-witness ng mga world-class dance talent, ito na ang pinakahihintay ninyo. Kaya huwag nyo kami kalimutan sa mas pinalaki, mas pinalawak na talent search on Philippine Television, Tagisan ng Galing, Part 2, dito lang sa Net 25.
Kababayan, naharap na naman po tayo sa mabigat na pagsubok na ito. Ito yung COVID-19.
I hope everyone's okay. I hope everyone's safe.
Nandito po kami para hikayatin pa po kayo na maging matibay.
Mas maging matatag po tayo and just stay positive po sa lahat po ng nangyayari ngayon.
Mga mahal kong kababayan, lampasan po natin, pagtagumpayan po natin ang pagsubok na ito.
Stay strong sa panahon po na to.
Huwag tayong mawawalan ng pag-asa.
At inihikayat din po namin kayo na sana makinig po tayo sa ating gobyerno.
Sumunod muna tayo sa gobyerno dahil yun yung pinakamainam na paraan para hindi na lumagana pa yung virus.
Let's all stay at home.
Spend time with our loved ones,
with our families.
At higit po sa lahat, make sure to pray for everyone, pray for everything that is going on right now, especially our frontliners po who are sacrificing their lives to take care of everything.
Higit sa lahat, patuloy tayong lumapit, magtiwala at manalangin sa ating Panginoong Diyos.
Lagi tayong manalangin dahil yung po ang may pinaka-mainam na solusyon sa lahat po ng mga problema natin.
God bless you and your family. Please stay strong and keep our faith.
Tuloy po ang laban.
The Philippine Red Cross said it is working to make COVID-19 testing in the country affordable and inexpensive. Now, during a Laging Handa public briefing aired over state-run PTV4, Senator Richard Gordon, Chairperson and Chief Executive Officer of PRC, said they are working to bring down the coronavirus disease test to cost 2,000 to 2,500 from the current 4,000 pesos. He said this is also to help the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth, save some money. COVID-19 testing in private hospitals costs about 4,000 pesos, while some hospitals charge over 10,000 if an individual needs to get the results immediately. Now, the Senator said they are still computing it once they get the permits from the DOH for the saliva test, and then it will still go down. This is already in the expert panel approval. Here's an exclusive interview with Senator Gordon with our Mantanang Agla, Eli Salga.
Alam mo, Eli, sa umpisa pa lang, natataasan ako doon sa 3.5. Kaya hinahanapan ko ng paraan maibaba yan. At kayo, nakakita na kami ng paraan. At siguro mga ilang linggo, bababa yan dramatically. At pagka bumaba dramatically yan, hindi na mahihiya ang taong pumunta roon, makakapagpatest sila. At tiyak, masisiyahan sila sapagkat sigurado yung test. At dalawang klase yung gagawin ko. Isang saliva test, na hindi na sila isa swab, hindi na sila matatakot na susundutin yung ilong nila o yung bibig nila. O yung isa naman ay yung tinatawag na dati parang may swab pa rin pero mas mababa na dahil yung isang reagent pwede kong gamitin sa 2 o 3 tao.
Para po sa
mas madali yan at mas mura sa tinatawag na PPE. Dahil ibibigay lang yung tinatawag nating bote na bibigay sa kanila. Doon nila i-spit out yung kanilang saliva at ibibigay sa amin. Lalagyan namin ng mark yun, lalagyan natin ng barcode. Dito wala nang kailangan swabbing, wala nang kailangan PPE. At mawawala yung swab kit at saka RNA step. Kaya makakamura tayo doon ng husto.
Apo.
Now, Senator Gordon said the PRC has done over 1 million tests, where he cited the efforts and dedication of the staff, medical technicians, and volunteers of PRC. He also said this is not to brag about the achievements of PRC, but to give the people behind the office a pat in the back for their role in fighting the coronavirus. Senator Gordon said PRC is working with everybody from government institutions as well as the private sector. And to date, the PRC has about 22,000 test machines in Manila, aside from those placed in different provinces. PRC also has about 384 medical technicians, and they have pathologists, trained swabbers, and encoders. The senator said if people continue to take extra precautions and follow imposed safety health protocols such as wearing of masks, observing safe physical distancing, and frequent washing of hands, the country will be able to defeat the coronavirus. Meanwhile, those who need to be tested may get in touch with the PRC online through www.book.redcross1158.com.
According to Education Secretary Leonor and Briones, the gradual opening of our economy and the pandemic will help students in private school, as it will provide employment to parents so that they can enroll their children back to school or to alternative learning system programs.
Public schools, Mr. President, halos 100% ang enrollment sa public school. Pero ang sa makita natin na ang total enrollment ay 24.7. Every day, Mr. President, the number is going up. Sa public, 22.5 million. which is already practically 100% of last year's enrollment in spite of the pandemic. Ang medyo mababa, and this is related to what we were discussing a while ago, is yung alternative learning systems natin, which is the program for workers, for those who are out of school, who go to school during weekend, and which we consider the DepEd's favorite legacy program for you, Mr. President, bumaba ng husto. This is because those who have jobs, who don't have jobs anymore, cannot afford the costs already of education. At saka 52%, kalahati lang ang nakabalik. Ang medyo nakakabahala din, ang private schools, ang enrollment sa private schools, 2.1 million ngayon, and this is 1/2 of last year's enrollment from private schools. At dito natin nakikita, Mr. President, ang maliwanag na koneksyon ng ekonomiya at ng edukasyon. Dahil yung maraming walang trabaho, hindi na sila maka-afford ng pag-aaral sa private schools. Kasi sa public schools, halos 100% ang nangyayari. Pero ang tumigil ay yung nasa alternative learning systems, yung mga workers natin at mga out-of-school children, at saka sa private schools na halos kalahati. Ay ito na nga ay malaki na, Mr. President, dahil nung nag-umpisa kami last June, hindi umabot ng 20% ang nag-enroll galing sa private sector. So unti-unti nang tumataas. Ang paniwala namin, Mr. President, nang kung unti-unti namang bubukas ang ekonomiya at saka dadami yung mga tao natin, ating mga kapwa Pilipino na magkaroon ng trabaho, maka-afford na silang makapag-aral ng kanilang anak sa mga private schools.
State universities and colleges, or SUCs, continue to find innovative ways of providing flexible learning options for hard-to-reach students all over the country. Now, Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, Chair Professor Prospero de Vera III made this statement during the inspection of mobile e-learning laboratory buses at the Sinaloan campus of Laguna State Polytechnic University, or LSPU, over the weekend, together with LSPU President Mario R. Briones. Dr. de Vera said many SUCs gave students tablets and gadgets so that they can join online sessions. And what is unique, he said, in LSPU is that they decided to bring connectivity to the needy students. LSPU converted its regular school buses to e-learning laboratories in preparation for Monday's opening of classes. Now, each bus can accommodate 15 students. It's equipped with computers and an internet connection. The buses will be rotated in municipalities where there are LSPU students without gadgets and internet connection due to financial limitations. Now, the flexible learning options adopted by LSPU include asynchronous systems where students can access and use online materials at their time.
Russian ambassador to the Philippines, Igor Kovayev, paid a farewell, calling Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro L. Locsin Jr. on Monday at the Department of Foreign Affairs. Locsin expressed his appreciation to Kovayev for his contribution to the enhancement of Philippines-Russia relations. During Kovayev's tenure, the Philippines witnessed a restoration of bilateral relations with Russia as the Philippines sought to deepen ties with non-traditional partners. Along with increasing bilateral engagements and people-to-people ties, several agreements were signed between the Philippines and Russia in the areas of trade and economy, science and technology, nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, space sciences, nuclear medicine, basic research, legal and judicial cooperation, defense cooperation, and culture. Joining the poll were Ms. Dames Maria Elena and Maria Lourdes B. Locsin. Madame Locsin thanked Madame Elena for her active involvement in various social and charitable activities and diplomatic spouses initiatives. Madame Elena expressed her appreciation for the warmth and hospitality accorded to them during their stay and the generous support they received for the activities initiated by the Russian embassy. Kovayev ends this month his 5-year tour of duty in the Philippines as Russia's top diplomat.
Thank you, Faye, for joining me today and for helping me out. Can you give me a bit of a situation there in Thailand? What is happening there and how is the tourism industry doing?
Yes, Alma. Thank you also for having me this time. I really want to share a lot of information, but I think we are lacking time. However,
yes, just a bit.
It's just a bit. It's just a bit information for everybody. From 2017 to 2018 up to 2019, Thailand receives lots of visitors, and they gathered like 35.35 million. And the visitors really increased because Thailand has really showing lots of tourist spots for everybody. However, Alma, this year 2020, because of the pandemic, it really decreased. The GDP has decreased, and the income, the output, everybody has increased. And this information, Alma, is from the Thai website.com, particularly about the tourism. And because of the huge problem that the Thailand is facing right now because of the tourism here, many people or different people are requesting and suggesting to have the complete reopen of the country for everybody, to accept all foreigners, and to offer the tourist spots from everybody to gather more income to prevent Thailand from collapsing. However, Alma, they are another group of people like the CCSA also and other sector of government. They are also thinking that because the COVID is still here, the pandemic is still all over the world, they need to have the double, they need to follow all the strict measurements or protocols, health protocols, to have the complete reopening of the country.
All right, thank you very much, Faye, for your updates, for that little update there in Thailand. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Olsen. That's the latest news from ASEAN region. This is Faye Barter reporting live from Thailand Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
And thank you, Faye, and thank you for joining us here in ASEAN. We'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
Passengers here are in for a ride. Taxi drivers here need nerves of steel, while passengers here can get an eyeful along the way. Rev taxis accommodate passengers all over the world. The Driver, our series. Rev.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups,